So today I'm making a video I never necessarily wanted to make, but it's inevitable. There was an incident with my Lotus. We're going to talk about how much it cost. So I will say the car has not been to the body shop yet. It's had a preliminary estimate done by the insurance company based on pictures I took for them using their templates. The car was not totaled based on that, so yeah. I think the Evoras are a little harder to total because the front clam does not include the front bumper. The front bumper is separate on the Evora, which probably makes them a little easier to repair and keep under that 60% mark. Now that being said, the damage is fairly minor and may surprise people as to what it costs. So we're going to walk around the car, and we've passed the damage, we probably haven't seen it yet. So yeah, basically we hit a log. And if you look close, you can see like, okay, this gap's misaligned. This gap is clearly misaligned. The whole clam has kind of shifted that way towards the driver's side. This is bowed out a little bit. This one looks mostly okay. The other side is where most of the issues are. So like, yeah, this popped out. The clam now rubs the door. So you're going down the road, it's just kind of shaping like this. So I'm not sure what's gonna happen there when it goes to insurance for work. But you can see like this gap popped way out. This gap is way out. And this gap is obviously out because the whole clam kind of popped up. Whatever this is concerning. I don't know if that's the mounting tab from the bumper side or from the clam side, but either way, if that's the clam side, this might get expensive, more expensive than it already is. But to the bumper, here's the majority of the damage. Like, it took the paint off here and broke the mounts underneath. So this is going to be kind of hard to get video of, but as you can see, this mount is broken and there's this big divot here in the under tray. You can see the scratches from the log going through this under tray and bowing the whole thing out, so that's obviously getting replaced. But you can see more of the damage to the bumper. The whole thing got torn up, but the mount is broken, so obviously it doesn't stay attached properly here anymore, and that the bumper being damaged and misaligned may be why that's all torn up. And one other thing I just noticed, this bumper did crack. The adjuster told me the bumper's getting replaced because of the mount, but there is a crack here that I thought was just in the paint, but no, that is actually in the bumper. So yeah, that's the extent of the damage, effectively. It looks like this wheel actually took some damage as well, but I'm not totally sure. That could have been from something else. This wheel needed to be refinished anyway. It was on my list of things to do, but I don't remember that and some of this other stuff that would be, you know, in relation to the accident maybe. So assuming that under tray damage didn't mess anything up underneath of that, you know, the front subframe or the body itself, I think these use the same bonded aluminum extrusions that the Elise used, or a similar style at least, because it's a bigger car. I think as long as that's not mangled, it's mostly cosmetic. And that's where the sticker shock really starts to hit, because the initial estimate was right around $8,600. Replacing the bumper alone, the bumper itself, I think was $5,500 plus paint. The under tray was 8 something. Plus, and then obviously R&R, everything. The estimate got up there pretty quick. It hasn't been to the body shop yet. I don't know if they're gonna have to blend. I don't know if they're gonna have to do anything like that. I would imagine they're gonna have to. If you watch the other video about when I first bought this car, the bumper had been painted. The match wasn't great. It was great in the right lights, the right angles. Your undertones and your side tones, your flops, that's what didn't match. But if you had the sunlight dead on, they did match. And in the right, good sunny day, it matched. Days like today, does not match. But my point is, if they have to blend. So if they have to blend, that would involve painting, and you know, assuming this clam doesn't get replaced and painted, that would involve painting probably up to where this PPF line stops. But that would also mean then they're gonna have to redo the PPF, they're gonna have to redo all of that. There was supposed to be PPF on the bumper, but when the bumper was painted the first time, they didn't replace the PPF. So if they offer me to customer pay that, I will customer pay that without a doubt. But if the PPF has to get redone, that's an added cost. If this door has to get painted, that's an added cost. There's PPF on the bottom of the door, so same thing. Like, it will add up very, very quickly. So that being said, the car goes to the body shop in about 2 weeks. It'll probably be a little while before I have it back, but I wanted to start the video now while I had the car. So we always have some content. One of the concerns people always have with owning a Lotus is if I get a door ding, it's totaled. We're going to find out. I know the Evora, like I said, is probably not as susceptible to that. They don't have the full front and rear bumpers built into the clam like the Elise and the Exige did. So that may be a blessing here, but we'll see. Once it gets dropped off, I'll find out what the supplement costs. We'll see how it comes out. This may end up being a blessing in disguise, even though it's been very, very expensive. So we'll see. I put the car up on the lift to change the oil, and you can see just how bad that actually is. God damn, that's the whole thing. Yikes, that's a lot. Oh my God. Yeah, that's gonna be expensive. So we have to make it quick because it got dropped off in the middle of the day, but the car's back. Looks great. We ended up customer paying for a little bit extra, so that brought the total up a little bit, but they painted this door because it was damaged here, but then I paid for them to paint this and this, and PPF the whole thing. This door, I believe, is all PPF now too, so that's cool. It looks great. Everything matches, which is what I was worried about. This bumper, the paint match was not great in the first place. Now it's good. Good PPF line, PPF on the full clam. Very nice. And it's a clear expel as opposed to the thick Star Shield stuff. They replaced these on both sides, even though I'm assuming they had to come off, so they just replaced them, which is cool. I will still have to refinish those brakes. That was one thing I think I knew I was going to have to do. But we'll talk about the breakdown when I get back. The question that people presumably want to know the answer to if they're watching this video is, what did it cost for that fairly minor incident? Like I said earlier, we just got the car back. It has been almost 6 months to the day. I dropped it off October 8th, I think it was, 8th or 9th. It was a Sunday. I got it back today, which was April 1st. So just about 6 months. I mean, I think at that point, adding a week or two isn't really too much rounding. I don't have an actual invoice from them that I'll have to get, but I got the copy of the final supplement, which is what effectively they charged. They didn't ask for another one or anything, so this should be the total of what they paid to fix everything on the car. And like I said, I customer paid for a couple things, so this number is going to be just the actual repair work. I customer paid to have the bumper done, the door done and the rocker repainted, because they had some minor issues and they were kind of in the area. The clear bra had to come off in those sections that needed to be redone, so it just kind of made sense to have them do it all. In my mind, especially because they were already painting, and this color seems like it's actually really hard to match, it seemed like a no-brainer to do that. But the total for the repair that was billed to my insurance was $14,327, which was actually less than I thought it was going to be. And then our total with the customer pay was $16,327. So that's a lot. Like, let's be real. For the damage, that is a ton of money. That was something so minor that it could have happened easily in any goofy situation. It didn't need any extensive repairs. The car still drove. It really was minor. It was a purely cosmetic problem, which makes that kind of crazy when you really think about it. Parts were $6,947.69. Nice. Labor was just under $5,000. Paint was $1,300, or paint labor was $1,300, and then supplies were $400. And then $810 in miscellaneous charges. I'm assuming that was the outsourcing for the clear bra, because I know they did not do that in-house. They sent that out, and they kind of gave me the options, right? So this has, even back here, it still has some. It's the original PPF. It's called Star Shield. It's very thick. It's old. It's starting to turn yellow on most of these cars, so that was part of the reason I wanted them to do it. But they gave me the option, hey, we can put this back on, but we can just as easily expel the whole panel. So I had them do the bumper, the clam, the door, and the rocker. Pretty much anything that got painted, including those lower fenders, they're full expel. which is nice because the bumper that was on there before did have some rock chips because it had been painted. It also didn't match, which goes back to this color being challenging to match. And it was never clear brought. So not upset about that really. The big thing was the bumper. The bumper itself was close to $5,000, I believe. Yes, the bumper was $5,000 by itself. And the under tray, which I think is kind of the more insane one, was $862. So really the parts were straight up expensive. Like that is a big part of it. You know, if you were tracking this car and you hit a sausage curb or you went off and bounced through like a pothole or, you know, a groundhog hole or something in the track, like in the grass, that could be a $5,000 mistake just in cracking the bumper. So it kind of puts things in perspective a little bit. I've never been the type to be afraid to drive a car, like be nervous about what's going to happen. Like I generally think I'm competent enough and quick enough in my thinking to avoid hazards. Obviously that didn't work as well this time, but generally speaking, I'm not super worried. Now this car does make me a little more nervous. It is famously made out of glass, effectively, and they do break a lot. Or they're expensive to fix when they do break, put it that way. So overall, I think it looks better than it did. I went to a very high-end body shop in the Philadelphia area. They buffed the whole car. They detailed the inside. They did all kinds of stuff. Because the car was there for so long, they do some more mundane cars, and I think those customers are a little more inclined to complain. And this car also falls in line with the price point of those more mundane cars, so I think they thought maybe I would have a problem with how long it took. I totally expected it to take a while, but they did buff the whole thing. They buffed even like these marker lights and the turn signals in the front. They polished the headlights. They did a great job on everything. There's a couple little minor things that I found that, like, I think from sitting for 6 months, I do think like things bumped into the car on the other side, but it's minor. It looks like it'll buff out. I'm not worried about it. It's just, I don't remember that being there before, but it's also been 6 months, so who knows. But overall, the car wasn't totaled. If this was an Elise, especially in like a bright color, I have a feeling it would have been totaled because the clam would have had to be replaced and they'd have to paint effectively half the car. If it did similar damage to like this car where it rubbed on the door, you know, then they're painting the door. And then if it's, you know, saffron yellow or something, they're blending the whole car. And it starts to become pretty obvious how they total so easily. These cars are a little bigger and the clam and bumper is separate. So I think that ultimately did it a lot of favors. But when I bought the car, I knew I was going to have to get that bumper painted. And if you watch the video I made pretty much shortly after I bought it, you know, everything wrong with the cheapest Evora S in the country. There was damage to that bumper that you couldn't really see unless you were eye level with it and you had to be low on the ground. But it was there and I knew it was there. And once you saw it, you couldn't really unsee it. So it was going to get replaced. So for me to have to pay my deductible was unfortunate. Like, I do have a higher one than I normally would for this car because I have assumed that anything that happens will be higher than that dollar amount. And so far that seems to be correct. But that was very much less than the bumper itself. That was very much less than having to paint and blend the bumper. So overall, I think it worked out. And I'm just happy it's back. We've got some more videos that I can now finish up because it's back. So that's good. Yeah. Patience paid off in this case. I'll take another walk around of the car with these lights. These lights show everything. Yeah, we can just check it all out. I'll also see if the GoPro camera picks up anything different, but I don't think so. But you can see the clear coat is smooth as glass now. They didn't even paint this area. This is just, you know, just buffed and polished. Same thing on the roof. There's no micro scratching, no anything. You can see that light perfectly. No clouds, no anything. Obviously, like, this does have the weird shrinking quarter panel thing that all the early S1 cars had. There's nothing they can do about that. And even if I had them paint this panel, that would have been a lot of work. And this is what I was saying. Like, there's still Star Shield here. It would be nice to get that in real PPF at some point, but I've heard it takes the paint off, and there's scratches on this bumper too. It'd be the same thing. Like, I'd rather get it painted. Well, then if you paint that, the quarters probably need to be blended. Then you're painting almost to the door, and then that door was just painted, so why not just paint the whole door, paint the whole quarter, and then, oh, we need to match the roof, and, you know, next thing you know, you're at a full repaint. But this side still has the old PPF on it, so it only has it up here, and then down here, and you can maybe kind of sort of see that the PPF has done its job in taking a beating so that the panel doesn't, but because it's taken such a beating, it doesn't look as good. You know, the front end looks great. This was all painted. This is all expelled. I do wonder if that kind of affects the coloration a little bit. Like, this color match looks really bad in this light with the camera, but in person it's much closer. But I do wonder how much of that is the PPF kind of distorting the flake, especially with this white light as opposed to like a more yellow sunlight. But it looks way better. These were super cloudy before. They replaced the Lotus badge, which is cool. I meant to call them back and ask them to do that, and I mentioned it when I went to see the car before they delivered it to me. And they're like, no, you don't need to tell us to do stuff like that. That's common sense. And I was like, cool, that's the attitude I want with this car. But everything looks great. You know, they did a good job. The bumper is a million times better. The expel stops on the lips, which is fine. Like, you're never gonna scratch anything under there. I think they replaced this marker light too. These were yellow before, now they're amber. I don't know what the deal was there. And one had a chip in it that doesn't anymore. So that's cool. Maybe it came with the bumper, I don't know. But overall, I'm extremely satisfied. I think it worked out very much in my favor, despite the kind of unfortunate circumstances and the delays. There was a few nice days it would have been nice to take this out, but thank you all for watching, and please look forward to more Lotus content. I will see you all next time.